Hey, Wes Barefoot here with Path to Freedom, and thanks for tuning in to the next video in my franchising FAQ series. In this video, I'm going to tackle one of the most commonly asked and one of the most important questions for anyone that's considering investing in a franchise business. And that question is, how much money can I expect to make in a particular franchise? So in my last video, we talked about what a franchisor accounts for when they give you what they call their estimated initial investment range. So we've already covered how to get a good sense of how much it would likely cost you to not only get your franchise business up and running, but also to have enough operating capital on hand to operate the business for at least the first several months, depending on how the franchisor provides that information for you. So once you have that kind of figured out, then you've got to assess, all right, can I reasonably expect that I'm going to see a strong enough return on my investment to make this franchise business worthwhile? And this is something that I find frustrates people from time to time when they're investigating a franchise business. And the reason for that is, usually their approach is they go into a phone call or a conversation with a representative from the franchise company and they just say, hey, how much money can I make? And the franchisor says, well, it really depends. And legally, the franchisor is pretty limited in terms of what they can say to a prospective franchisee when it comes to the earning potential of a franchise. Because a franchisor cannot guarantee how much money a franchisee may or may not make in their business. There's a lot of variables involved in determining how financially successful any business is. And at the end of the day, one of the biggest variables is always going to be the business owner. In the case of a franchise, it's the franchisee. And so there's actually very strict regulations through the FTC when it comes to franchising and what a franchisor can and can't say when it comes to earnings information. However, that does not mean that there is not a methodical way for a prospective franchisee to go about understanding and assessing what the financial opportunity may look like with a particular franchise. So I talked in the last video a little bit about a document called a franchise disclosure document, or an FDD. This is a legal document that the FTC requires that any franchisor provide to a prospective franchisee. And in this FDD, the FTC does allow franchisors to provide some earnings information based on data from their existing franchisees. This information is contained in item 19 of an FDD. Now, not all franchisors provide earnings information in an item 19, but assuming they do, this is going to be a great starting point for understanding what the financial opportunity may look like with a particular franchise business. Different franchisors present earnings information in different ways and in different forms. So this will vary from one franchise to the next, but typically speaking, they're at least going to give you an idea of what the revenue potential is based on what other franchisees have done in their businesses. So they may give you an overall system average revenue for their franchisees. They may break it down into quintiles where they give you kind of the average revenue for the top 20% of the system all the way down to the average revenue for the bottom 20%. Sometimes franchisors will give you an idea of what your typical cost may look like. They're not typically going to give you a full profit and loss statement, but whatever information a franchisor is providing in item 19 is always going to be a great starting point for understanding the financial opportunity. But it's usually not going to be enough to give you the confidence that, this is a worthwhile investment. So how do you go about getting to that point? How do you go about building a financial model that could give you the confidence to invest in a franchise? Well, there's really an art to going about this. And one of the most important steps in this process is talking with other franchisees. You can learn so much from talking to existing franchisees in a franchise business, really about the opportunity in general, but in particularly when it comes to the earning potential. So that's what we're going to talk about in the next video in this series. So make sure to tune in for that.